out of Jonah is simply that test for you to do the thing that's right and that you know is right and you don't want to do it. You just don't want to do it. You know it's right, but you just don't want to do it. The Nineveh test, remember, was Jonah preaching to Nineveh and to have them converted, and he really didn't like them and didn't want them to be converted. That's the Nineveh test. The Carmel confrontation is how long halt you between two opinions. If the Lord be God, follow him. If not, that's that indecisiveness, to be or not to be. And if that's what a Carmel confrontation, if I ever said to you that you need a Carmel confrontation, I mean a confrontation, it's because you can't decide whether you want God or Baal. The Gethsemane dilemma was simply not my will, but your will. Lord, let this cup pass from me. I really don't want to die, but not your will, but mine. We all get in that dilemma. Lord, if I can go any other way to satisfy what I have to do, and I don't have to do it this way, I'd be satisfied. Like, Lord, if I can get a whole lot of money without working and get it legally, okay, but if not, then let me work. See, that kind of thing. Because I don't want to do it illegal. That's the Gethsemane dilemma. I don't know if I preached that here or not, but that's the Gethsemane dilemma. This morning, we're going to talk about the Mars Hill matter. The Mars Hill matter. The matter on Mars Hill. And it comes to us, and I'm going to be cutting through it. It comes to us out of Acts, the 17th chapter. And I'm going to read the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 32nd verses out of that 17th chapter of the book of Acts. Hear ye the reading of God's word. Then Paul stood in the midst of Mars Hill and said, Ye men of Athens, I perceive that in all things ye are too superstitious. For as I passed by and beheld your devotions, I found an altar with this inscription, To the unknown God, whom therefore you ignorantly worship, him declare I unto you. And then in the 32nd verse, and when they heard of the resurrection of the dead, some mocked, and others said, and these are the words we take our text from, we will hear thee again of this matter. We will hear thee again on this. We'll talk to you again another time on this matter. So I want to talk about the Mars Hill matter and raise the question, what is the matter? What is the Mars Hill matter? The words matter, the word matter in its most common and everyday use simply means any specific thing, any cause or occasion that is the focal point of an experience. For example, the matter at hand, the business matter, the matter of marriage. It's a matter of opinion. You can use that word matter in so many ways, simply mean that what you're talking about is the focal point of that occasion. This matter is a matter of business. Then business becomes the focal point of the matter. This is not a matter of friendship, but it's just a matter of thus and so. So whatever that matter is, that's the focal point of that. That's the simple and common way to define matter. But it was Einstein, you remember him, the one who flunked 9th year math and then went on to become a genius. That's encouraging for those of y'all flunking math. It was Einstein who raised the connotation of the word matter when scientifically he looked at it as what every space occupies, or whatever occupies space and is perceptible to the senses. Whatever occupies space and perceptible to the senses, he said, let's call this matter. This is all matter. Cosmos is matter. This is matter. That's matter. It can be small space or large space. But whatever occupies it, he said, let's call it matter. And then he concluded that the matter is what a thing is made of. So anything, the matter of the mind is what your mind is made of. The matter of this. That's Einstein's work. Well, Einstein could not have known the importance of the Mars Hill matter in this text. Einstein, being more or having a scientific mind, not a theological one, could not understand perhaps what we mean when we talk about the matter of Mars Hill or the Mars Hill matter. For even he could not have imagined that a matter would be so profound that it would challenge the brilliant minds of those Athenians, those people of Athens, those Greeks, those philosophers who thought they were so smart when they stepped up on Mars Hill to listen to a converted Christian who was a Pharisee, converted to Christianity, who could not have the intellect of a philosopher. Well, how could he? He's been studying things in a synagogue. He knows about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but he doesn't know about the cosmos. He knows about Daniel in a lion's den, but he doesn't understand fire the way we understand fire. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is all right, but he doesn't understand fire and the pangs and teeth of a lion the way we understand it from a scientific or zoological point of view. So who is he? Who is he? Who is this man called Paul, who dares to come in town and speak strange things and talk about strange happenings? And so they said, yes, we'll gladly come up on Mars Hill, where we intellectuals discuss the issues of the day and discuss celestial things and scientific things. We'll be happy to go up there. Oh, what a rude awakening they were in for when they met with. And one thing I think all of us need to understand, don't underestimate a child of God. They may not have a degree hanging on the wall. Some of them may not be able to write their own name. But you better be careful. Because a child of God is supported with power, insight like you've never seen before. You remember those old mothers and all who never went to school at all and look in your face and say you were hanging out with the wrong company? And they turned out to be right. And you say, how could they don't go anywhere? They're here in the house and churning butter and making ice cream and picking cotton and going out in the garden and picking vegetables and get to bed and they're tired. How could they know about the wrong crowd, the red light district and things like that? But God equips a child of God. That all you don't get in school, God has a way of giving it to you through experience. And that's not a knock on schools. I think young people should go to school and everybody get as much as they can. But I'm talking about folk who didn't have the opportunity and couldn't get. God bestowed upon them the kind of wisdom. And right now, God will equip you and give you what you need. Remember when David went out to meet Goliath, and they said Goliath was a man of war from his youth, and he's got a shield and a buckler, and he's strong and powerful, and they tried to put that on David, and David said, I can't wear it because Saul, that belonged to you. They said, well, how are you going to go against the giant? He said, well, I'm going to go with a slingshot. When he went down there with a slingshot, they looked at him, and Goliath just about broke out with laughter that this youngster would come out there. But David didn't say, I come to you with a slingshot. He said, I come to you in the name of the Lord God, whom thou hast defied. He said, this day God will deliver you into my hands. Don't underestimate a child of God. And you better be careful when the person say, I'm going to pray for you. Remember when parents used to say, go ahead, go on, I can't talk to you anymore, but I'm going to take you to God in prayer. You better be careful because when you got some influence with God, God will hear and God will answer prayer. So they didn't know who they were fooling with. Who is this coming out? Oh, you heard about him. Yes, we checked on him. He's messed up some towns already. Yeah. Turned the world upside down, some of those folk, because they went in these inferior intellectual towns, these towns which was intellectually inferior to us. Yeah, they did all right around Galilee, but who's around Galilee? Some fishermen and all. He's in Greece now. He's in Greece now. And he's in Greece, and he's among the Athenians. And the Athens and Spartans thought there was nobody like them. How do you like that phrase, Sunday school workers, about having that nest in the sky among the stars? A whole lot of us got a nest among the stars. We better come on down to earth. A lot of us think we're sitting on top of the mountain and nobody can take us down. And a lot of us think that's how the Edomites felt. They thought that nobody gonna mess with us. But the heathen nations, God allowed them to gang up on the Edomites. That's what the Sunday school lesson is about. I love the lesson this morning. And we're following, that was Obadiah. We're going with the minor prophets. Come out. We're doing a whole lot of things. See, a lot of folk don't understand how important it is to know the Bible. And I hope this will come across to you. It's all right to know songs and when you usher and how to raise money, and that's all right. That's nice, and it all goes to help the church. But you got to know the Word of God. Come before the judgment seat. God's not going to ask you how much money you raised in Mount Olive. Not going to ask you whether you're a good usher or good this or that. But do you know me? And the only way you know him is through his word. That's how you got to know him. He fixed it up that way. Yes, he'll save you. But to get to know God, you got to know his word. Well, who is this? Who is this? Somebody said, well, the resume says his name is Paul. Paul, I thought he was Saul when he used to be Saul, but his name was changed. Who changed his name? I don't know. Maybe the angels in the heaven done changed his name. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is he's called Paul now. Remind me of Jacob, who was changed. His name was changed to Israel. Well, what does he want? He said he saw something sitting out there that disturbed him, and he wanted to have a discussion on Mars Hill about it. Well, what is his credential? Where has he been? What school? He studied as a Pharisee. Is that right? Yes, he studied as a Pharisee. He was a member of the Sanhedrin Council. Oh, well, then he's got some background. We'll entertain him, because if he didn't have any background at all, we wouldn't even let him come into our presence. So let him come into our presence. Oh, well, they're in for a rude awakening when Paul stepped on Mars Hill. Wish they had time to really go into this whole thing, but when they're in for a rude awakening, and when a child of God step in a room, things ought to change. And I'm putting a lot of responsibility on Christians. I don't care what goes on in the choir. When a child of God get up to speak, that child of God ought to be able to quiet the disturbance. Child of God come into a meeting, and all of them ought to be children of God, but I can't account for that. But if you're a child of God, you ought to make a difference where you are. Difference in your community, a difference wherever you ought not to be the one causing the confusion. You ought to be the one trying to get the peace and bring peace out of confusion. Child of God ought to be recognized. There goes a child of God. And if this is not happening in your life, maybe you need to go back and say, Lord, what's the matter with me? You might need a Mars Hill confrontation. You might need it to find out what the matter is on Mars Hill. Here come the Apostle Paul. Well, let me move on. These philosophers of Athens, they felt that nobody could stop them on anything. They were profound. They had the minds of geniuses. But oh, how their senses were staggered. Staggered to the extent that they could only utter the words of the text. We'll hear you again on this matter. After it was all over, all they could say is, excuse us, Paul, but we'll have to discuss this with you again on another time. We'll have to get with you again at another time. Thus, we tune into the Greek city of Athens. Wish I had time to give you the background of Athens and how the Spartans and the Athenians lived. They lived as battle fighters. They lived where life was not important, but victory was important. You know the story of the Spartan mother when it came back and told her that her son had gotten killed. She said, never mind that, did we win the battle? That was all she was concerned. That's how the Athens and the Spartans were. They were those who would sacrifice their lives for victory. They would shed blood, and as long as they won the battle, that's all they cared about. After battle fighters, they breeded a brood of philosophers, intellectuals, and they gathered in the country of Greek and in the city of Athens and created a Mars Hill. Well, somebody wanted to know, what is a Mars Hill? Well, I don't know. In Korea, they had Pork Chop Hill, and they've had a lot of hills to battle on. There's the Battle of Bunker Hill, and some of us got hills in our homes where we battle, and hills sometime in the church where we don't call them that, but we battle in some of those hills. I don't know what Mars Hill, as far as that background, I've researched it. I know how it got its name, but I'm not talking about that. But I don't know if it looked like and was shaped like a hill. All I know, it was a place where the philosophers met and discussed the issues of the day. And they invited intellectuals to come in and debate issues. And they stood there, and up until this point, that's what hitherto I was talking about Friday night, up to this point, they had won most of the discussions, most of the debates. They would stay there long hours in the night until they got their point across. But a strange audience is out here for the Apostle Paul to him, because it's not a congregation. It's not a congregation. It's not a band of would-be disciples. It's not even a group of synagogue dissenters trying to block something. It's not even the Sadducees or any of them. Quite the contrary. It's a so-called intellectual gathering of enlightened citizens who bask in the afterglow of Athens' intellectual glory. They are the men of the times who stand there showing you how smart they are. You ever go to Congress, you'll see a whole bunch of representatives who's supposed to be smarter than you, and yet they get nothing done. Go to the Senate, you'll find a whole bunch of folk who sit there and decide a lot of issues and leave there with a whole lot of issues undecided. You'll see a band of stuffed shirt people who sit around and pass laws and figure and never come down to find out what the common folk want to know and not concerned. That's why you need to rise up in a community and let somebody know that you count and that your vote is important. We can't allow stuffed shirt folk who don't even come to our neighborhoods to decide what's best for our neighborhoods. Can't allow that. And we start talking about Al Sharpton was sitting talking about, I don't want him. He's too much of a rabble-rouser. He was born right around here. He's one of us. Who do you want? You want somebody who's not concerned about the neighborhood, about the community, never lived here, don't know what it is to be poor, don't know what it is to have a bill, don't even understand what you're talking about when you say, I got to rob Peter to pay Paul. They're ready to put you in jail. Think they're talking about Mr. Peter down the street and Mr. Paul down the street. Don't even understand the language that we have come to live by. Simply means that we're keeping our heads above water, trying to make a way when we can. That's all, trying to survive. That's all. Well, if that's the kind of representation you want, that's what they had on Mars Hill. Paul's congregation did not consist of people, but those who basked in their own intellectual glory. These were those who seemed to live on a diet of debates and discussions. That's all they wanted to tell you. Got a whole lot of folk live on a diet of debates and discussion. They all they want to do is sit and argue your point, and then they go out and do nothing about the point. They can argue you down. And I tell you what you do sometime. And we have any barbers in here, so I'm not talking about your shop. Any beauticians here, Sister Crayton, I'm not talking about your shop. But if you get a chance to be a fly on the wall of a barber, listen to some of the discussions that come up. If they stay there long enough and they're black, the church is coming up. Go hang around the stoops and all around the bars if you want to. You don't have to drink with them. Let them get a few drinks in them, and the best discussion that ever comes up is the church. That's a good one. They don't care. The Senate can rob them. Congress can rob them. You can get raped in Washington, D.C. It doesn't make any difference. The preacher, the deacon, and the church is the best debate and discussions for them. They know everybody not living right. Every preacher driving a big car and ain't doing nothing, robbing the folk of their money. They know every deacon not living right and who he's going with. And no deacon is holy as far as they're concerned. No, the deaconess are right. All choir members shout and don't live the life. All the ushers put on white uniform, don't live anything. All the deaconess, they know it. They don't ever set foot in church. Don't ever give a dime to church. When they die, we got to roll their body in and try our best in this Bible to find something good to say about them. Best we possibly can. And yet they sit around and discuss the church. And some of our church people are so weak that they sit around with weak folk like this and talk about the church. How do you expect to get them in the church? And you sitting up here every morning, you running down the same church that you sit up here every Sunday morning. Debates and discussions are all right among Christians. If we know we got shortcomings, that's why we're here. We know we got weak feet, we're all weak, that's why we're here. We know we all come short of the glory of God, that's why we're here. We know we got these problems, that's why we're here. So we understand we don't need these people outside discussing who we are and what we're about. And as soon as they want something, the first place they come to the church. Politician want to get elected, he comes to the church. A derelict will rob you and rape you outside there and come here to get money to go down the street to rob and rape again. And those who sit around and talk about the church, let them lose a job. First thing they come here and want no ribbon, I need a rally to get my job back. And this is unfair. Church has led every civil rights movement you can think of. All the leaders have come out of the church. All of them. We wouldn't have had anything in terms of civil rights and all if it had not been for God's church. Preachers on the march, trying to march for folk, and folks sitting around talking about because they get a little anniversary. Don't want the preacher to get a dime. And they don't care how rich the lawyer gets, or how rich the doctor gets, or how rich the politician gets. They sit around and talk about preachers and deacons and preachers' wives. That's a favorite subject of their own, and they can't even keep their own wife. And they're sitting around talking about somebody else. Well, it's time for God, people. Don't let folk run you down like that and you sitting up in the church. You help build this church. You're getting ready to expand the church. This is Mount Olive Church. It's been good to a whole lot of folks. Mother Robinson said, what a fine church. Yes, we got shortcomings. Yes, we got children that make noise. Yes, we got folk who lie. Yes, we got some deacons not working. Yes, we got some trustees. Yes, we got choir members not going. But all in all, and through it all, we're the best thing God got down here. He's not looking for the library to bring salvation. He's not looking for Congress to bring salvation. If the church failed him, God does not have another instrument down here. We are the children of God. We are the blood washed. We're the ones that washed our souls in the blood of the Lamb. We are the redeemed. And it's time for the redeemed to say so. Oh, hallelujah. Time for the redeemed. Don't let them fill in your ear. You don't want to lose them as a friend. They talk about church and you say, yeah, well, that's true. What church you go to? Well, I go to that church. That church you go to? Well, let me tell you about somebody in that church. You sit there. You ought to say, don't tell me about anything. You get your soul right. You say, I'm trying to make heaven my home. I don't have time to sit around and look around at somebody else and pull skeletons out of their own closet. I'm praying to get them out of my own closet. I'm doing the best that I can. You got to learn to speak up to these people. They don't have an inner on you. You don't have to buckle down to them. We belong to God. God promised that if anybody bothered with us, it would be better that a millstone be tied about their neck and drowned in the depths of the sea. We are God's people. Well, that's what they had. I'm almost ready to close now. That's what the Athens. That's what they thought. They sat around and all they wanted was debates and discussions. They want to sit around. They sit around talking about where the king get his wife. They don't even know where they got theirs. And got one now don't belong to them. They wondering in the Bible about Cain and all these hard to answer questions in the Bible. These debates. Well, along comes Paul. Thank God, God will always have somebody. I don't care. You can shoot them all down. God will rise up another nation that will obey. Doesn't make any difference. God has always had somebody. Doesn't make a difference whether it's an Elisha in Samaria, whether it's a Jeremiah in Jerusalem or a John on the Isle of Patmos. Doesn't make any difference. God always got somebody. God got somebody who'll speak on behalf of God. Well, in order to invite a challenge and get religious views, that's all they want. They put an altar and they erected it right in town as you come in town. And it said, to the unknown God. In other words, if you say you know a God, you come here and let us know who your God is. It was almost to say, there is no God. We have labeled him unknown because there is no God. Apostle Paul is coming in town, and before he can get himself a seat anywhere or a meal, he sees the statue to the unknown God. Paul looks at it and is taken back by it and looks again and glances upon it and then makes it clear that I want to meet on this unknown God. I want to counsel. Well, when it reached the ears of the intellectual group there in Athens, they said, good, that's what we want. We want, some folks want an argument every time we look around. They're argumentative themselves, most people. And they always want to argue about something. They'll sit there and listen to a report that's good and find one thing wrong with it so they can pull the one thing out. How was the concert that the mass choir had? It was good, but... How was the revival that you had at your church? Souls were saved and hearts were strengthened, but how's the building program going on at Mount Olive? Well, people are joining, people are rallying, supporting it, revenues up there, boosting it, but how is your choir? You got a nice choir, yeah, more folk can join, and we're singing, and we got more leaders now, and the musicians are doing a good job, but see, that but always says, but I'll find fault. No matter how good it is. I found fault. A lady came in to talk to me about her husband and told me 25 things he did right. Then told me one thing he did wrong. And I said, if you got him 25 to 1, you going home, you all right. 25 good things you told me about him, and you find, but I can't get over this one thing. How selfish are we to want angels when we're not angels ourselves? How selfish are we to want perfection and we are imperfection? How selfish are we to want the whole hog and not be satisfied with pig feet? How selfish are we when it comes to what we want out of life in comparison to who we are ourselves? Everybody want a good man or woman, but don't think about how good they are themselves. Move on, Brother Crayton. That's too messy now. So that's bothering. That's bothering somebody. I ain't come to church to hear him say that. I want to hear about Daniel and David. I don't want to hear about myself. It's not important. Well, Paul said, come on, I'll meet you. Well, meet us on Mars Hill, because that's where we illuminate. Mars Hill, that's where the light falls on us. Mars Hill, that's where we meet, and that's where we give our point of view. Paul said, I'll meet you anywhere. So let's go on Mars Hill. Stands on Mars Hill and begins his sermon in this kind of way. I wish I had time to go through, but I don't. I'm going to cut it some. He stands on Mars Hill and lifts his voice. No pulpit. No text playing in Paul. No text, I'm sorry. No pulpit there. Bible as we might have it here. But he stands on Mars Hill. And the first thing he says, I couldn't help it when I entered your city. I couldn't help it when I saw an altar out there. And that's all right. I always like to see an altar, because God will speak to you at an altar. Everybody needs an altar. If you don't have an altar, you're going to have a whole lot of trouble. So when you have an altar in your heart or one in your home, you ought to have one somewhere. You ought to be able to go to an altar. I like the fact that you got an altar out there, but you got an inscription and you don't seem to know who you're worshiping. Says to the unknown God. Well, I want to take that unknown God and declare him to you. In other words, him who you're worshiping in an ignorant manner. I'm going to show you who he is. Can you imagine folk getting up in the morning and don't know who's waking them up? Giving credit to the alarm clock. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Can you imagine folks sit down at the table and dine and thank the cook and forget the one who provides? Hallelujah, hallelujah. I'm getting happy now. I got to cut it off. Some of you getting happy. Can you imagine folk going, getting in their pocket and pulling out a few pennies and strutting up to the church like they're doing God a favor? If it wasn't for God, they wouldn't have a dime. Can you imagine somebody complaining about where they live when they're folk outdoors, when God has provided a shelter for you in the time of storm? Can you imagine that? You don't know who, you worship him. Remember, Paul said, he didn't say you didn't worship him. He said you're already worshiping somebody. But I want to tell you who he is. See, you're giving credit to the wrong person. We getting out here thanking the banker when God is making a way for us. See, we got to be careful. Yes, doctors, I thank the doctor. I think you ought to. When you get through, thank the doctor. But just remember who the healer is. That's all. Doctors don't call themselves healers. They only call themselves surgeons or doctors. We're not healers. And one doctor told me that. He said, all we do is go through the motions and apply the medical knowledge that we have. And then we leave them in the hands of the Lord. Because if we were the healers, we'd never get sick ourselves. But we're not the healers. We're not the healers. But somebody got all power. Didn't look too happy Dwayne this morning. I'm about to sit down. All power in his hands. And not only I know he's got all power. I don't know about you, but I've been down. He picked me up. I've laid flat on my back, and he brought me back up again. I've had folk to scandalize my name, and God brought me back anyhow. I've had people to knock me down, but I came back more than conquerors. I've learned to trust him. I've learned to depend on him. I've learned to rest on him. I've learned to know in whom I believe. And I know he's able. I know he's able. I know he's able. And you can't make me doubt it, because I know too much about him. You can't make me doubt him, because I know who's in my life. See, I don't give alarm clocks the credit. He woke me up this morning, started me on my way. When I'm in my car and the brake light come on, and I know I got to get my brakes fixed, and it's rainy weather. I got a little bit of money in my pocket. And I said, Lord, if I can hold out a month, I'll get my brakes fixed. Along comes a kid on a bicycle. And there I'm trying to apply the brakes, and I apply them, and the brakes stop me. I don't say thank you, brakes. I say thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. I know who makes a way for you. I know in whom I believe. And I know he's able. I know he's able. I know he's able. Paul goes on Mars Hill. He said, I'm going to show you who you need to worship. You think it's the sun that should be worshiped. You think that you got gods that make it rain. And you think you got gods that make the grass grow. And you smart folk think scientifically we've come this far through science. And you got the nerve to talk about what Columbus did. You got the nerve to talk about what Ponce de Leon did. You got the nerve to talk about what Shakespeare has done. You got the nerve to talk about what Edison has done. Just because he flew a kite like Franklin out there to test what Franklin had said and found the lightning and electricity. But don't you know, long before Franklin came to existence, long before Edison came to existence, God put the sun in the sky, put the moon up there, decorated the heaven with stars, and all power is in his hand. All power is in his hand. I come to let you know who he is. Since you got an altar up there, you might as well know who you worship. And then he went on talking about God in the elements. And y'all read it when you go home. After he got through doing that, he started on the resurrection. That meant Jesus had come from the dead, and that instead of worshiping these idol gods and these gods that the Greeks worship, you ought to worship Jesus Christ. Well, just about that time, just before he got to Jesus, read it when you get on, he didn't even get a chance to utter his name. Before he got to Jesus, somebody abruptly stopped the whole meeting and said, just a minute, we'll discuss this later. We'll meet on this matter another time. In other words, we're not ready for what you're going to say. We got opinions and all, but we want to think about it. You gave us so much to digest. We want to go home and decide about it. Well, the Mars Hill matter, like the Nineveh test, the Carmel confrontation, and the Gethsemane dilemma, a Mars Hill matter is the matter that you postpone, the matter that you table. You know you ought to be speaking to somebody, but you get on your knees and say, Lord, I'll talk to him another day. See, the matter that you postpone, you know that in order for you to feel right in church, that you got to get right with some brother or sister that you've done wrong. Instead of just walking up to them and telling them you've done wrong, you keep postponing the matter. Say, I'll discuss this another time. We'll bring this up another time. Have you ever noticed that in any kind of debate or discussion, when right begins to overpower? Have you ever talked to somebody when right was getting the movement? They had so many answers and questions until you came in with what was right. When you brought the Bible and Jesus in and they knew it was right, they backed off. Someone said, I don't discuss religion. Well, whether you discuss it or not, your soul is going to have to answer to God. I don't want to get into a religious discussion. Somebody going to have to discuss Jesus. Somebody going to have to get to know about Jesus. Just about that time, they said, we'll discuss this matter another time. Somebody got a Mars Hill matter that's unsettled in your life. Now, Mama, I want you to think about it. You got some unfinished business. Somebody you're not speaking to. That's unfinished business. You better get it right before your soul go to God. Somebody know what is right, and they keep postponing it. How many times have folks tell you, I'm going to join the church? After I get off of working 2 jobs, I'm going to come to Christ. After I move in my new house, I'm going to come to Christ. After I get my new job, I'm going to come to Christ. After I get a new suit, I'm going to come to Christ. After I get a new dress, but I'm going to go further than that. I'm going to come to Christ when that preacher leaves, when that deacon get off the board, when that choir start acting right. I'm going to come back to the church when the folk act better than they act. I'm staying out of the church. I'm postponing my religion. I'm tabling my salvation. I'll robber. You don't know when I'm coming, but you gotta be ready. Be ready. Be ready. Be ready. When I come, it may be morning, night or noon, but so is your born. He's coming again. He's coming again. Every eye shall see him. He's coming again. Every knee shall bow. He's coming again. Riding on the clouds. He's coming again. Got to get your soul right. It may be early. It may be late. I know. He's coming again. I'm waiting on him. I'm waiting on him. I'm waiting on him. The Mars Hill matter is whatever you do that you know you ought to deal with right now. Somebody lied on you, so you're not going to speak to them anymore. That's a Mars Hill matter, because you can't go to Christ with anything in your heart for somebody else. How can you love God whom you've not seen and hate your brothers and sisters who you see daily? Forgive your enemies. I've been in the church a long time, but I'm not saved. I didn't know that she just mixed up, because denominations, all that foolishness can mix folk up. Some folks think they got to speak in tongue and turn off apples, somersault, and a whole lot of ridiculous things to be saved. You don't need all that. Is thy heart right with God? Washed in the crimson. That's all. That's all you need. So I talked to her, and she said, well, I just don't feel I'm saved. But then she broke down. And she told me of how she mistreated her mother, or was mistreating her mother. Mother was still alive. She said, my mother, I can't forgive her. Hallelujah. Because I was abused. And she did nothing to protect me. And she sings on the choir and serves in the church. When I look at her, I look at how she messed up my life. She didn't do the abusing, but she didn't protect me. And I believe that I can't be saved and feel this way about my mother. I said, well, you're making sense. So I said to her, all right, let me talk to you about Jesus. That's all. Because there's so many wonderful things about Jesus. Or he'll be your mother. He'll be your father. Your doctor, your lawyer, your sister, your brother. He'll be everything to you. I said, but you're right. You can't go to heaven feeling this way. Where's your mother? North Carolina. I said, get on the phone. She said, I haven't talked to her in 17 years. I don't intend to talk to her. And I realized what had gone on in my life. And I went to the psychiatrist. She said, the therapist told me my mother was at fault. You got to watch some of these therapists. Sometimes they're therapists because their mother was at fault. You got to watch what they're going through themselves. They told me, stay away from my mother, and I'll be healed. And ever since then, I've been working, feeling good. I'm not depressed anymore. I said, but you're not saved. She said, no, because there's something standing between my soul and my Savior. She told me whatever. I said, pick the phone up and call your mother. I said, come on, there's a phone. You know the number? Yes, I'm going to pick it up. Pick it up and call her. You know what she said to me? I wish I had a happy ending for you. All those stories preachers tell don't have happy endings. She said, Reverend, I'll discuss this matter with you another time. And she walked out the door. That's what the Mars Hill matter is. It's the things we table for. I'm not through. I'm not through. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. My wife was there and I got a call. I got a call to come back to Amityville. and eulogized a mother that they were bringing back to Good's funeral home so I could eulogize her there. It was the mother of this lady. And the person that was screaming across the coffin, hollering, "I'm sorry, Mama." Screaming, "I'm sorry, Mama," was that girl. I'm not through. I'm not through. I saw a preacher, Reverend Nelson, saw him in Hampton. And he told me, if you can go see her, go see the daughter. I said, where is she? She's out in Pilgrim State. She's lost her mind. You better stop tabling what you ought to do today. If you got somebody you're not speaking to, pick up the phone. I don't care what they've done. Pick up the phone. Don't delay it. Don't let your soul be lost over foolishness, because you may not have another chance. Stand on your feet. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.